Hey, how's it going? Drossi here. In this video, we're going to be talking about Lady Inerva Darkvein Heroic and how to heal her as this priest. We're going to be going over the logs and the replay in depth, and I'm going to be going over, my thoughts throughout the thing, everything we need to know in order to get this orange parse. So hopefully, by the end of it, you'll be able to do this as well. All right, let's jump right into it. So the first thing we're going to look at is the damage taken part. So we look at this chart here for the damage taken. This is how we want to plan our spirit shells, right? But it looks kind of irregular at first for Inerva Darkvein. It's kind of just small dips and things here and there. But if you actually look closely at the numbers here, so you see even when you have like these dips, the damage taken per second is still really high. Actually, it's like 18,000 here at this very low point. Down here it's like 12,000. This is a little low here, but the idea being that there's a lot of damage going out throughout this fight, even when there isn't like some event going on, right? Even when there's like nothing going on, there's still a ton of damage, and all that damage actually is coming from this one here, loose anima. So loose anima, you see here, it follows a similar pattern as what we saw earlier on overall damage, and it's causing a huge amount of damage taken per second. Even the low points here is a couple of thousand, and this is just constant rate damage. This loose anima is just like the containers being opened, or even when they're closed, there's just ticks of damage going out. You see everyone's taking basically a constant steady stream of damage, 99% uptime for people who are alive. So with this in mind, actually it makes it really easy to plan out Spirit Shell, because what we're going to do is we're just literally going to use Spirit Shell on cooldown. This fight's about 430, maybe a bit longer if you have less DPS, but there's a hardened rage anyways of when the containers get filled up. So yeah, the fight's about going to be this long. You're going to get maybe 4 Spirit Shells in. You can see at the start here, damage is a bit low. So we might want to save our first Spirit Shell for around, here 30 seconds in. It's not too bad, you don't lose out too much uptime on it, and then from there on we just use it on cooldown, every single cooldown. The bad part of this kind of damage breakdown is that because it's kind of irregular, and another thing about this fight is that everyone is spread out, right? All the rangers spread out to catch the bottles and stuff, and the melee are just like running around getting the orbs and killing the ads. There's not really a good use for barrier. Honestly, in this fight, kind of just throw it out whenever like damage is coming out. Just put it on maybe the melee pack because they're tight grouped. But yeah, we're not going to be planning barriers in here because it's just kind of hard to get good value out of it. Okay, here we are. So to start off, there's not going to be that much damage. You see, this debuff that everyone has, that's the loose anima that we are talking about earlier. It is on everybody, but it starts off doing very little damage. It's kind of just like small ticks, and there's not really any other damage going out, so all the healers can just pick up their own weight. You don't need to use anything here. Maybe keep atonements on tanks, just because they're getting meleeed. But even that's not that important. You see, even the tanks not really taking too much damage at all. As the loose anima ramps up, we saw like 1 to Spirit Shell about 30 seconds or so in, right? So we're gonna wait a bit until there's more damage going out, and then we'll start our Spirit Shell. So you see here, we're about 46 seconds in. That's not counting the pull timer and stuff. So yeah, just about 30 seconds in, we start our ramp.
Train 3.
I do use Power Infuse on myself here. So this fight that I'm recording here is a re-clear for my guild, so I'm using Power Fuse on myself just to parse higher. But I would recommend that if you're trying to prog on this fight, you don't have to PI yourself, right? You can still do your ramp without it, just miss a couple of atonements. Use your PI probably on cooldown with someone who does the highest damage, or someone who matches the 2-minute cooldown window and stuff. That's gonna benefit your push better than if you just do it yourself.
I'll get the back.
So you see, yep, about 30-40 seconds in, we do our standard ramp, put up Atonements with Shield, put up 2 Radiances, use Spear Shell, Schism, Mind Games, all our stuff. Yeah, pretty simple. And yeah, you see here, even though nothing was going on, like there was an ad that doesn't really do much because it's getting interrupted, bottles are being caught here and there, but our HPS is spiked up 8k just from the random damage, and we're still taking the loose anima, so like there's still a lot of healing to go around, but obviously we're just gonna be waiting until our Spirit Shell cooldowns to pump out most of our healing. And of course, as you see here, yeah, make sure you do mechanics. That's more important than the healing you're ever gonna do. You didn't need 2 people to catch that there, but sometimes you have a situation where like the bottle comes out, you know, you run in and you're like, oh, my friend's in here already, right? So I'll just get out. And then you both think that you both get out, and then it hits the ground and you wipe. So I would recommend, like, you see a puddle for the bottle, go into it and catch it. If there's like too many people in there, maybe like 3 or something, you can try to get out. If there's like 2 people, just stay in it. It's not too big of a deal for like 2 people to get hit by it. It's much better than the small chance that you both walk out and hit your raid. So here I'm doing my mini ramp, I'd like to call it, right? So you need 2 radiances for every Spirit Shell, but within 1 Spirit Shell cooldown, you can use 1 radiance outside of it. So you just radiance whenever. And once again in this fight, because the damage is just constant to everybody, so everyone's around like just taking a lot of raid damage, just use your radiance whenever it's up, you know, put some shields up, use your schism, do your mini ramp, also when it's on cooldown basically. Yeah, make sure to keep atonements up on the tanks when you're not using radiance, when you're not ramping. Or basically, actually, in general, just keep atonements on the tanks permanently. So, that was a really nice Innervate I got just now. Innervate lining up with your ramp is huge. If you have Boomkims or even Resto Druids, yeah, it definitely helps a lot. Like, Disc is one of the healers that uses the most mana during ramp, like during one small period of time. In my opinion, the best target for Innervate, so get that if you can. And yeah, so you see, Spirit Shell, 3 seconds to its off cooldown, 2 radiance is ready, and I'm just gonna start ramping right away so that we can use it right away.
I gotta watch the stuff on the ground after these bottles, move your feet.
Honestly, that could have been done even a little bit better. Like, Spirit Shell's off cooldown for like maybe 3 seconds there. It's not gonna be a big deal, right? But like, these are the small things you can think about when you're trying to improve your play. So we got a second Spirit Shell run in, just off cooldown. Nothing's really going on. I guess the ad is spawning, but doesn't cause too much damage. And yeah, all our HPS is just gonna be coming from this loose anima that's taking people.
Sure, interrupting.
Something that's kind of small also, but you know, definitely worth mentioning is like when the ads are out, you should probably be putting your damage into the ads, right? Like for a Tome, it doesn't matter who you're hitting. I didn't do that this fight, and like I guess if you're struggling with the fight, you know, you don't have to do that, right? Just keep your focus on Inerva so you can just cast your healing and damage. But if you have the extra, you know, brain cycles, then switch to the ad when they're up and put your damage into them.
A hero? Sure, hero.
We have our mini ramp going on right now. Hero goes off. A little unfortunate that Hero is not active during our first ramp. Actually, it might still be. Yeah, it looks like, yeah. So we have PI, we have Hero up, and actually it does come up during our ramp. This is a much cleaner one where we have Spirit Shell activated right when it comes up, which is perfect.
We're good, back to just one. Next set of ads coming.
You can see our mana was really hurting earlier when yeah, when you have Hero and when you have PI going on, and you're ramping, it's gonna burn so much mana. I didn't have an intermediate that time. My mana did go up. I'm pretty sure we had either the shaman or the holy priest using their mana regeneration thing, because mana was shooting up a bit there. But yeah, something to watch out for. Don't be scared to use mana though. Like, if anything, you use your mana during your ramp. Just use as much as you can. Don't hold back on your ramp. If you're running low on mana, just hold back on the mini ramp, or like in between that. Don't shield and don't use shield and shadow mana on anybody outside of ramp. Like, if they're gonna die, honestly, like, you're gonna have to rely on your other healers to cover that for you.
To try to complete the chain.
Soak. MP bottle 4.
Yes, you always be on the lookout for open bottles. Like, it's everyone's responsibility. It's really important that you get that as soon as possible. So this part, the third container, I would say is definitely the most difficult part of the fight. You see, when the orbs come out, there's beams in between them, and these beams do massive amounts of damage. They will literally, like, if you touch them for like 2 seconds, you're just gonna die. They put a dot on you. They do huge on hit damage. Like, you need to not touch those no matter what. And then when it gets to the third one, the orbs actually start spinning their lines. I don't know if you've ever played like Diablo 3, but it's like the arcane orbs. Basically, it just spins and it's a huge line. It goes out, and if you're 3 orb line people, don't clear them out right away. You're gonna have big issues. So you have to make sure to be watching for those. And yeah, get ready to put big heals out for anyone who accidentally gets touched by them. We get another ramp cycle going.
Get a hand of freedom on them, if you can.
Boss?
You're gonna have to charge to this ad out here. Thanks. Ad out here.
Bottles.
Sure, interrupting. Just finish boss. Nice land.
And there you have it. We're not gonna get another cooldown of Spirit Shell. Actually, I look back on this now, and we did kill it pretty quickly. Looks like we didn't even get the third cycle of the ads with the throw upgrades. So if your raid team doesn't have as much damage as ours, it's gonna go a bit longer. You might be able to get another Spirit Shell. I did actually run out of mana here, which is actually good and bad, right? It's good in the sense that this is perfect, right? You run out of mana right when the boss dies, which is you're using all your resources to your strength, right? The bad is, of course, that obviously the fight could have gone on a bit longer if we would have no more healing left. I see that I have some friends with Innervate up. That would have helped a lot. So yeah, try to coordinate with your druids to set up Innervates. It does make a big difference, especially for this priest. Another thing is I have my mana potion, spiritual. Forgot the exact name of it, but yeah, the one where you sit down for 10 seconds, it heals a bunch of your mana. In this fight, you kind of just use it whenever you want. Like, I didn't run out of mana until the very end, so I was okay. But if I had less mana, if I had less Innervates or something earlier, I would have to have used this. And normally you have to find a good window for it, but on this fight, just use it whenever you're not ramping. Literally anytime, because you see, most of the fight I literally stood on this one spot almost the entire fight. Just, you only move out to catch the bottles, you do the red orbs, but majority of the time you're okay to drink. So to review, if we come look at my healing here, not anyone else's, we got 4 Spirit Shell ramps. Looks really good here, a couple mini ramps in between. Looks like this one ramp in the middle here is a lot lower than the others. Actually, I'm really curious about that, so let's take a look around 130 mark there. Let's see, where is that? Around 130. Okay, my Spirit Shell's coming off cooldown. I got the Innervate. Start to ramp. Okay, so I'm wrapping here with Shadow Mend instead of Radiance. The issue with that is that so there was a lot of damage going out, so Shadow Mend was I guess a good choice there, but at the same time you're gonna get less atonements out because it takes longer to cast than power word shield. I'm guessing that's what's causing the issue
Stuff on
here.
the ground after these bottles. Move your feet.
So I get my radiances out. Looks like there's 5, 10, 16. So 16, actually that's pretty good. 16 radiance, 16 totems is pretty good.
Add some air, protect
Get
the
my
boss.
Schism Mind Games, Halo. Yeah, so everything was going pretty well. No issues really. So I guess the only thing that could have caused this ramp to be not as high as the other ones is that there was just a bit less damage going out. Maybe none of the containers were open. Maybe, you know, there were no bottles going out. Probably just a bit of luck. I wouldn't be too worried about it though. Yeah, in the end, as long as you do your ramps right, like the majority of them should be looking like this, which is great. In terms of other cooldowns, so let's take a look at those. So I do believe I used barrier once. Here, I used barrier here. Let's find where I first used it. Okay, so yeah, honestly, like I said before, there's not really any good spots to use barrier in this fight. All the range are just spread out everywhere in the back, and the melees are out here, but sometimes they gotta go to ads, sometimes they gotta go to these orbs. So kind of just throw it out whenever, and like because the damage is so constant, like I used it 3 minutes in. That means I could have gotten a second use out of it, so this is not the best use of barrier. I probably should have used it somewhere near the start-ish, just whenever there's just whatever damage going out, and use it again a bit later on. But you see here, I drop it in the melee. Looks like there's, yeah, only like 5 people in it, 6 people in it. So kind of shitty. So yeah, don't worry too much about barrier usage. Just try to get, try to get 2 guys out of it if you can. And pain suppress, let's see where we drop that.
Oh, here?
Here, okay.
Sure,
So pain suppress, let's go back a bit. Pain suppress, yeah, this is not something you want to be planning for. You want to coordinate with your tanks to see when you want to use this, or use it in emergencies like this. I see my tank has dropped to like 20%. It's really dangerous. It does have some defensives up. The other tank is also getting a bit low. So yeah, you see something like this, low health tank, just throw up a pain suppress.
Sure, interrupt.
You see the heal that right away. That's probably like a lay on hands or something. So that's probably some bad coordination. You definitely want to coordinate with your tanks when to use pain suppress. Maybe you can have them call out for external if they need it. That's a lot better method than this, where you just use it whenever you're not gonna get the most cooldown usage out of it. But yeah, it might have saved this tank from an emergency, but it looked like they had it covered anyways. So yeah. And then there's no more time, so you won't get another barrier, and I won't get another pain suppress. So there you have it. That's Lania Inerva Darkvein heroic as this priest, orange parse. Hopefully you learned a lot from this video. Once again, this is an easy one. This is a really good one for disc. So if you watch this whole thing and learn from it closely, I'm sure you can get really good parse on this fight as well. I'm working on this type of guide for the rest of the bosses in Castle Nathria. I'm trying to make sure I get good parses on them first. It's taking me a bit of time for that because, I don't want to be showing you a replay of like a part that's not good, because you're not going to be learning the most you can out of that. But yeah, I mean, stay tuned for that. Like and subscribe if you like this video. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.